Okay, let's just jump right in with a question that might mess with your entire morning routine. What if the three healthiest things you did today, forcing down that big glass of green fiber, grabbing that seemingly innocent low-fat yogurt, or maybe sipping on a detox tea,
Hmm?
what if those were the exact reasons you feel bloated and, well, just miserable?
It's the ultimate sabotage scenario, isn't it? We're all running on this sort of autopilot, following what we think is good advice, only to find out those very habits are attacking the foundation of our health.
Which is the gut.
Exactly, the gut microbiome.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We are going into the 8 most common gut health mistakes that it turns out almost everyone makes. We've synthesized a whole stack of findings that, frankly, aggressively contradict the health advice you see on, like, every single supermarket shelf.
And this is so critical. We're looking way beyond just avoiding a bit of discomfort. When you fix these mistakes, the effects they cascade. We're talking about better stress management, way more energy, clearer skin, and even huge improvements in your sleep.
This is basically the shortcut to getting it right.
It really is.
Okay, let's start with mistake number 1. And this one is, it's the most sacred, unquestioned rule in modern health. Trying to fix your gut by just eating more and more fiber.
Right. We're told fiber, or prebiotics, feeds the good microbes, which is true, but it's not the whole story.
And here's where it gets really interesting. It can actually feed the wrong ones.
And at the wrong time. That's the key distinction. We treat it like this universal solution, but its effect totally depends on the health of your intestinal lining. If you're already dealing with inflammation or a leaky gut, consuming tons of fiber isn't feeding, it's irritating.
I feel like we need a more aggressive analogy for that. How bad can it actually be?
Okay, think of it this way. If your gut lining is already compromised, like with microscopic tears or inflammation, then throwing in a bunch of rough, insoluble fiber is like taking sandpaper to an open wound.
Wow. Okay, that's a powerful image.
It just forces inflammation, creates all this extra fermentation, and that's where you get that massive, painful gas and bloating. You're trying to heal, but you're just scraping it raw.
So for someone in that stage of inflammation, what is the alternative? Just stop eating fiber.
No, not at all, but you do need to reduce the stress on the system. So temporarily cutting back on overall fiber is a good start, but more importantly, you shift the type of fiber.
Okay, how?
Swap the raw, hard-to-break-down vegetables for cooked or steamed ones. They're basically pre-digested. Or, even better, go for fermented fiber, the kind you find in high-quality sauerkraut or kimchi. The fermentation has already done the hard work for your body.
There was also a surprisingly aggressive intervention mentioned for guts that are really inflamed, the carnivore diet. That feels a little extreme just to heal the gut.
It is extreme, but it works because it provides total rest. It just eliminates all plant-based irritants and fibers, period. A healing gut needs specific things, and one of the most important is the amino acid glutamine, which is critical for rebuilding that intestinal wall.
And here's a detail that really undercuts the whole fiber dogma. The cells in your large intestine, your colon cells, they do need energy. And yeah, they can get it from fiber, but their preferred fuel is something called butyrate.
Right, a short-chain fatty acid. And instead of forcing your body through this difficult breakdown process to make it, you can just deliver it directly from high-quality fats, like from glass-fed butter.
Why struggle when you don't have to?
Exactly. But the real villain here isn't just fiber in general, it's a specific kind. It's the absolute worst fiber from modern whole grains, and especially modern wheat.
We're not talking about ancient wheat here, are we?
Not even close. Modern hybridized wheat is structurally different. It has way higher levels of this really sticky, hard-to-digest form of gluten. Most people just can't break it down properly.
And it's not just the gluten. The fiber in the wheat bran contains these anti-nutrients, like phytic acid. What does that actually do inside the body?
Phytic acid is basically a mineral thief. It literally binds to essential minerals in your digestive tract: zinc, iron, magnesium, calcium, and it stops you from absorbing them.
So you could be eating a perfect salad.
But if you have it with a slice of whole grain bread, you're actively blocking your body from getting those nutrients. It's wild.
And the hits keep coming with oxalates, right?
That's right. Oxalates cause issues for your kidneys, your joints, and they also irritate the gut. Add in the massive blood sugar spike from modern wheat, and you've got a nutritional disaster masquerading as health food.
Which brings us to mistake number 2. Relying on typical store-bought probiotics or yogurt as some kind of silver bullet. You buy the expensive bottle or the colorful yogurt tub, expecting a miracle, and then
Yeah, the
Nutty.
problem is quantity and quality. The amount of bacteria in most of those supplements is so low, it's biologically irrelevant. It's a drop in the ocean of your gut ecosystem.
And the yogurt, that's where the healthy facade just completely crumbles.
It's the ultimate Trojan horse. Most commercial yogurt is marketed as healthy, but it's stripped of all its fat, which is essential, and then it's packed with added sugars, maltodextrin, cornstarches. You're basically eating a sugary dessert with a tiny trace amount of bacteria.
So if you are going for dairy probiotics, what's the better choice?
Well, you have to skip the low-fat, high-sugar stuff. Look for plain organic grass-fed yogurt. Or, even better, grass-fed kefir. Kefir has a much more diverse and potent range of microbes. It's a far superior choice.
Okay, moving to mistake number 3, which is the seductive appeal of flushing everything out, colon cleansing, detox protocols, that kind of thing. People love the idea of feeling totally clean.
But that feeling is so misleading. When you do those aggressive cleanses or enemas, yes, you're getting rid of waste, but you are also indiscriminately washing away huge colonies of the friendly, beneficial bacteria that you desperately need.
And the immediate ironic consequence of that is,
It's like constipation. You've just nuked the very infrastructure you need for healthy digestion. The whole goal should be to fix the root cause with your diet, so your body's natural detox system, your liver, can do its job properly.
right, not resorting to these extreme damaging flushes.
Hmm.
Okay, mistake 4 is taking antibiotics casually. We just grab them for everything, hoping for a quick fix, often when it's not even a bacterial issue.
And that's the fundamental mistake. Antibiotics are, they're indiscriminate weapons. They kill the bad bacteria, but they also wipe out all the good guys that keep you healthy. And this is so important. They are completely ineffective against viruses.
We need to share the sobering fact about the long-term costs of that.
The reality is your microbiome never fully recovers its original pattern after a round of antibiotics. You permanently change the landscape. You might regrow bacteria, but it's not the same diverse balance you had. And worse, the few bad microbes that survive can develop resistance, which contributes to creating these global superbugs.
It's a serious trade-off. So if you absolutely must take an antibiotic, what's the countermeasure?
You just try to minimize the damage. The best practice is to simultaneously take a good probiotic, just spaced a few hours apart from the antibiotic dose, to try and replenish the good guys as they're being killed off.
Okay, let's pivot to mistake number 5. This one is huge. Using antacids for acid reflux. When you feel that burn, the logical conclusion is, I have too much acid. So you take something to neutralize it.
And that is almost always the wrong diagnosis. It's probably one of the most damaging routine mistakes people make. Acid reflux, that burning feeling, it very often comes from having insufficient stomach acid.
Wait. So the burn is telling us the acid is too high, but the actual problem is that the acid is too weak. That feels completely backwards.
It's a paradox, but it's how the body works. Your stomach acid needs to be incredibly strong, a pH between 1 and 3, which is like battery acid, to trigger the valve at the top of your stomach to clamp shut. If the acid is weak, that valve gets lazy. It becomes leaky. Then, when you lie down, that weak acid just sloshes up and causes the burn.
So by taking an antacid, we're trying to fix a leaky valve by making the problem, the weak acid, even worse.
Exactly. We're actively weakening our own defenses. That strong acid is crucial for 3 things: digesting protein, killing off bad microbes in our food, and absorbing key minerals like B12 and magnesium.
And if the acid is weak, what happens down the line?
Undigested, contaminated food then passes into your small intestine, and that's a disaster. It causes bloating, you can't absorb nutrients, and you get things like constipation and diarrhea because the small intestine is just struggling. It's a vicious cycle. So for chronic reflux, you should look into alternatives that actually boost stomach acid, something like betaine hydrochloride, but of course you'd want to discuss that with a professional first.
Right. Let's move to mistake number 6. The whole low-fat diet craze. It completely messes up digestion by confusing a key organ.
Yeah, it misunderstands the role of the gallbladder. Fat is the signal, the trigger for your gallbladder to release bile. If you're on a low-fat diet, you aren't sending that signal, so you get insufficient bile release.
And insufficient bile means poor fat digestion, which blocks your absorption of all those good fat-soluble vitamins and omega-3s. But bile does something else that's maybe even more important.
It does. Bile is like a powerful natural detergent. Its job is to keep the small intestine sterile. Your small intestine is supposed to have very few microbes. The large intestine is where the party is supposed to be.
So if that bile detergent isn't flowing,
more bacteria survive and start to set up camp where they shouldn't be, in the small intestine. And that leads directly to SIBO. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. SIBO is just too many microbes in the wrong place, and they start fermenting your food right there, which causes that constant, awful bloating.
SIBO is a huge buzzword, but that explanation lack of bile is key, which I have to tell you this goat story. I once drove a small goat an hour and a half to the vet. Its stomach was totally distended, and I was convinced it was dangerously ill.
Oh no, and the diagnosis?
The vet just looks at me like I'm a complete idiot and says, "That's normal. That's called fermentation." But the takeaway is the mechanism. Fermentation is fine in the large intestine of a goat or a human. When we get that constant bloat, it means the fermentation is happening in our small intestine where it shouldn't be.
And that leads perfectly to mistake number 7, following the standard balanced diet advice.
So what does this all mean for what we're actually eating?
The term balanced diet usually translates into really terrible advice because it pushes people towards an incredibly high carbohydrate intake. We're talking 45% to 65% of your total calories. If you have SIBO or any kind of gut issue, you are just throwing fuel on the fire.
So the high carb load is the perfect food for the bad bacteria living the wrong place.
Precisely. For much better digestion, one of the most powerful things you can do is radically lower your carbohydrate intake, maybe down to around 10% of your calories, just to starve out the bad guys and let the gut rebalance.
And our final mistake, number 8, is another health halo food. The superfood shake. You load up a blender with kale, fruit, spinach. You think you've reached peak health, and 3 minutes later you feel awful, immediately bloated and miserable.
You're just overwhelming a struggling system. You've hit an already stressed small intestine with a massive concentrated dose of fiber and sugar all at once. It's just too much, too fast.
And the ultimate irony is what the new superfood is. It's not kale, it's red meat.
And that connects right back to our first point. High-quality red meat is highly digestible, it's nutrient-dense, and for a healing gut, it's non-inflammatory. It gives you everything you need without the irritating fibers and anti-nutrients.
Okay, let's talk about some advanced hacks. The first rule has to be the anti-snacking rule. We have to embrace fasting. Intermittent and even longer fasts are vital because constant eating just puts the digestive system under so much stress.
It never gets a break. It never gets to heal. When you stop eating, your body activates something called the migrating motor complex, the MMC. Think of it as the gut's cleaning crew. It sweeps leftover food and bacteria out of the small intestine and down into the large intestine. If you snack all day, you constantly interrupt that cleaning cycle, which just promotes SIBO.
That rest is crucial. Now, for someone trying to aggressively heal their gut lining, are there specific compounds that can help?
Absolutely. For things like ulcers, zinc carnosine is a highly effective compound, and for that gallbladder support, you can take purified bile salts right after a meal to help with fat digestion.
You also mentioned something else for SIBO that I found fascinating.
That would be TDCA. It's a specialized bile salt. Taking it on an empty stomach helps improve overall bile flow, and it's a potent regulator in the liver. It helps fix the conditions that let SIBO thrive in the first place.
But the most mind-blowing finding has to be the microbial hack, the L. reuteri strain.
It's truly revolutionary. Using a highly concentrated strain of L. reuteri, which you can culture yourself into yogurt, does so much more than just help the gut.
So it's not just about killing bad bacteria.
Not at all. This specific strain dramatically increases your body's production of oxytocin.
The cuddle hormone, the one that lowers stress. So you're saying fixing your gut can physically calm your nervous system.
Exactly. It increases oxytocin, lowers stress, and the researchers even noted it enhances what they call social capacity. It makes you feel more comfortable and connected. Your gut state directly influences your mental and social well-being.
Which makes the question, what do the good microbes actually want to eat?
Yeah.
Even more urgent. If it's not wheat, what is it?
They thrive on polyphenols. These are plant compounds you find in things like berries, coffee, cacao, dark chocolate without the sugar avocado, and extra virgin olive oil. They provide food without the aggressive fiber.
And for a concentrated probiotic dose without that fiber bulk, we're back to the old school hack. Sauerkraut juice. Just drink the juice for a powerful shot of good microbes.
And before we finish, we have to talk about the most unexpected connection of all, which shows how integrated everything is. Sunlight.
Sunlight.
Okay.
That's a stunning connection. How does the sun affect the gut?
The UV and infrared light from the sun directly influence your gut microbiome's health. It actually encourages the production of beneficial compounds in the gut. Plus, that light exposure regulates your eyes, enhances melatonin production, and improves your sleep. It just proves that when you fix one part of the system, like the gut, you end up clearing up seemingly unrelated things like skin issues.
So we've basically just flipped 8 major wellness rules on their head today. You might have been treating low acid with antacids, eating fiber that acted like sandpaper, and cleaning out your good bacteria with detoxes.
And if we zoom out, we realize that the health of our gut pretty much dictates our stress levels, our energy, and our sleep. We have to stop just treating the symptom, the heartburn, the bloat, and start honoring the intelligence of the entire system.
The message is pretty clear then. Sometimes the key to feeling better isn't adding another superfood or supplement. What if the key to thriving isn't immediately dropping the 8 things we assumed were keeping us healthy? It's really time to rethink everything.